Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Omar Al Qahido and I am partner of Qusay Al Hijazi. Today we will be presenting our assignment 2 solution for fundamental programming concepts. This program reads student statistics data, especially the intake, enrollment, and output. The program reads from an output file, so it's performs calculation using functions and writes a formatted report to an output file. I will progress my explanation with program structure and setup section. Can you go to scroll down to the code?
انت سكرين شير.
So this is our source code. As we can see at the very top of our program, we include four libraries. iStream is for printing messages to the screen. Xstream is for reading and writing files. IOMinute is for formatting the numbers in the output. And string is for storing the university names. We also define a con We also define a constant called max, which is a set to 20. This represents the maximum number of universities our array can hold. Below that, we have our four function type. These tell the compiler that these functions exist before we define them later in the code. I will explain the first function, get input. This function is responsible for receiving four arrays, one for university names and one for each for intake, enrollment, and output numbers. It also receives count by reference, which means any change made to count inside this function will be reflected outside it as well. The function opens the file input using Xstream, so we can check if the file opened successfully. If it did not open, for example, if the file is missing, we print an error message and call exit of one, which immediately terminates the program. So finally, we close the file. This is good programming practice to free up system resources. And now we will be moving to my friend Qusay. He will continue the other functions.
Thank you, Omar. Now I'll be explaining the next three functions: calc total, get lowest, and get highest. Now, the calc total function is task 2. It receives an integer array and its size. It uses a simple for loop to add up all the elements and return the total. We call this function 3 times in the main: one for the intake, one for enrollment, and one for output. The get lowest function is task 3. It finds the index of the smallest value in any array. It starts by assuming the index 0 has the lowest value, then it loops through the rest of the array. Each time it finds a value that is smaller than the current lowest, it updates the lowest index variable. At the end, it returns the index, not the value itself. This is important because it allows us to use that index to find both the number and the university name from their respective arrays. The get highest function is task 4. It works in exactly the same way as get lowest, but instead of looking for the value that is greater than the current best, it returns the index of the highest value. Now, taking a look at the main function, which ties everything together, first we declare the four arrays of size max, one for the university names, and three integer arrays for the statistics. We also declare an integer, a variable called count, initialized to 0. Task 5 asks us to get input and pass all four arrays and count to it. After this call, all the data from the input file is loaded into our arrays. Task 6, task 6, excuse me, we will call calc calculate total 3 times to get the total intake. Sorry. Excuse me. We call calculate total 3 times to get the total intake, total enrollment, and total output. We then calculate the averages by dividing each total by count. We cast double to ensure we get decimal results. Task 7 asks us to call get lowest and get highest for each of the 3 categories, which then gives us 6 individual variables. We then calculate the range of for each category by subtracting the lowest value from the highest value. Task 8 asks us to open output text using off stream and write all the results to it. We use set W to align the columns neatly and fix with set precision of 2 to format the averages to 2 decimal places. And finally, we close the output file. Now I'll go to the compiler that will run our code. Here's the input. We just run it, and this will be the output. And it works perfectly great. Let's take a look at the output file. At the top, we have the title, following by the lowest and the highest values for each category, along with the university names in brackets. For example, the lowest intake is 1,341 students from UPNM, and the highest intake is 65,207 students from UITM. The range is 63,866. Below that is the full data table with a total row showing the sum, the average, sum, and an average row showing the averages rounded to 2 decimal places. This completes the demonstration of assignment 2. Thank you for watching.